What's funding the public infrastructure investments in the quarters downtown, or basically implementation of the urban design plan, as I mentioned earlier, is a CRL. Current revenues forecast for this area are $180 million, and that's being used to fund roughly $99 or $100 million in public infrastructure investments. And again, the premise being that if the City of Edmonton invests in public infrastructure, it will spur private development. And what I've learned in the downtown, when you're doing brownfield development, the costs to do the infrastructure upgrade, just the drainage upgrades, for example, are tens of millions of dollars. And that in itself is a hurdle for any developer that wants to go in and develop. We also have a lot of brownfield sites. I haven't actually, the sites that we've developed or are in the process of getting ready for sale have all had significant contamination and require remediation. We also have to do utility relocates in each of the areas. So all of these costs are being addressed through the CRL in order to remove obstacles to development. And one of the construction that it began in 2013 on predominantly on what we call the Armature, which is the spine, if you will, of the urban design plan. It connects all of the quarters. Someone asked me once, where did you get the name the quarters from? We actually have 4 distinct areas, and 4 or 5 actually. I think we have 5, but we call it the quarters anyway because we, for whatever reason, someone couldn't count. We have the Heritage Quarter, the Civic Quarter, Macaulay Quarter, and the Five Corners Quarter. Do we have another one, Heather?
Well, the Armature.
And the Armature. All right, so that's 5. We don't count the Armature as a quarter then. But what I would like to mention with respect to the Armature, the construction is almost complete there. If you go out and if you have a chance, walk through it, you'll see that it's beautiful. We really, at this point in time, I would say it's the first street in the city of Edmonton where the pedestrian has the first priority, followed by cyclists, and we place motor vehicles third in that hierarchy. So if you want to see what a street that has a pedestrian orientation can look like, by all means go and check out 96th Street between Jasper Avenue and 103rd A Avenue. As I mentioned, it's almost complete. The only thing that needs to be installed at this time are the street lights and the pedestrian lights. Also, I'd like to mention that it's one of the first streets in the city of Edmonton that's low impact development. So we have built into it soil cells for all of the trees. We have piping in place to irrigate the trees. In our second phase, when we do a park, we'll have a cistern so that we can capture any leftover runoff and then recycle it and use it again to water the plantings in place. We're very excited about the possibilities and how this will help us in the future in terms of sustainability. One of the first developments in the quarters downtown was the Hyatt Hotel, and it's scheduled to open this summer. In fact, they're taking reservations starting on July 1st. 255 rooms, 12 stories with commercial at grade, 3 levels of underground parking. This is one of the first, well actually it's the Boyle Street Plaza. It's just north of 103rd A Avenue, and it's in that planning area that I referred to as Boyle Renaissance. It actually is the first development that's happened in this area in probably 20 or 30 years. It was very exciting. This building opened up in 2012. It has a daycare, a community hub, a gallery space, craft space, a gymnasium, and a beautiful park amenity. The total cost for this project was $42 million. And right beside it, this was also part of the Boyle Street Plaza, is the Melkor YMCA Welcome Village, that's owned and operated by the YMCA and has 150 units of affordable housing. When I mentioned the project cost was $42 million, that included both buildings, and this project was unique in that it was a project or a partnership between the City of Edmonton, the YMCA, and Boyle Street Community League. The second development, again, to happen in this area happened in Boyle Renaissance, just north of the Boyle Street Plaza, and that's the Renaissance Tower. Again, this was a partnership between the City of Edmonton, but this time with the Métis Capital Housing Corporation. It's a 90-unit, seniors-friendly, barrier-free residential complex. It has sustainability features such as solar panels, rooftop green spaces, and it's also wired for cogeneration and utilization of basically a small district energy within the building. Total cost of this project was $23 million, and it opened in 2014, January. A really important part of creating vibrancy in an area that you want to revitalize is art. And arts and culture, extremely important. When I started working in the quarters over 5 years ago, all I had was an urban design plan. And I know urban design plans excite you guys, but doesn't really excite the general population. So here I was working in an area that people called Skid Row, and trying to create some excitement about the urban design plan. I had to use tools that were at my disposal. What I used was art. I used a whole range of different art activities, but I was very fortunate that the Edmonton Arts Council chose the Quarters Downtown as their site for the very first transitional art exhibit in the city of Edmonton. And what I've learned over the years from that very first project was that people will overcome their fear of an area, they will overcome their biases and their negative perceptions of an area to go and experience art, to experience something that's unique, that's different. And so I've successfully been finding ways to continue using art to compel people who wouldn't otherwise go to the area to come out. And once they come out, they see that the area has changed. It's not what they remember when they were there 30 years ago or when they were there 20 years ago. It's ready to be revitalized. Another, or a great example of how we are also using arts and culture in the larger downtown area is the Royal Alberta Museum is building their new facility in the downtown. And we see that this is a very important part, again, of the revitalization of the downtown. It's a $375 million project that will open late in 2017. And like the arena project, this means more jobs, more people, more visitors, and a more sustainable, vibrant community. The Winspear Center is also planning an expansion. I don't know how many of you are aware of that, but they're currently in detailed design for their new expansion, which will have a 540-seat multi-use acoustical hall, a childcare facility, studio space, and additional capacity for education, outreach, as well as partnership with other arts organizations. They're also planning on doing some pedestrian-friendly streetscaping on 97th Street. And it doesn't stop there. The Milner Library has a major renovation planned. They are looking at, basically they have a project, $62 million to revamp that location. That's a hallmark in our downtown in the Churchill Square. And what it will do is expand the space for the children's library, expand the maker space, provide for more quiet spaces that will be overlooking Churchill Square, offer more communal meeting spaces, a high-tech theater, as well as some significantly improved building systems, which again, if any of you have had meetings there and had to use the elevators, you will appreciate that. Construction scheduled to begin in 2017 and will be complete in 2019 or 2020. Skipping back over to art, we started to look at public art in our downtown. We wanted ways to get people to get out and about and start walking, and this is geared a lot more towards people who work downtown as well as visitors to our downtown area. As a walker, I find that if I have an excuse to go outside, I'm more inclined to go outside and take a walk. So we started to look at our public art assets that we had in the downtown, and we discovered we actually have a lot, and created an art walk. This particular one, it's our first art walk. This is a pilot project rather, that starts on Jasper Avenue at 100th Street and does a loop. You can go to Art Walk YAG if you want to Google it, and it will bring up every exhibit that's along this self-guided tour and give you some really interesting stories of not only about the art but also about the artists. We have, as a result of this project, had such a great feedback about it that we are going to continue on with 2 more planned walks. And again, staying on the topic of art, the construction that's happening downtown is starting to bear fruit. No pun intended here, but the LRT Nate line resulted in this particular art exhibit that's called Still Life. And right now, it just, if you look at this particular slide, shows a bunch of fruit. But if you look at it from the right perspective and vantage point, it's actually a bowl of fruit looking through this frame. Another public art piece, again, benefactor or arising from the Percent for Art policy the city has, is this collection that's on Jasper Avenue. It was part of the Jasper Avenue streetscape improvements that were done in 2013. It's between 100th Street and 102nd Street, and it comprises 21 planters and benches. So if you get a chance when you go on, if you're walking on that street, read some of the prose that's on the benches. There's actually a story about Canada geese and as they travel on their way through the city. We are looking forward to some new public art installations that are coming. One of them is a mural that will be created by Debrinski at the Michael Fair Park on 104th Street. It's hoping it will be constructed when, Tom?
This spring.
This spring. So the Michael Fair Park on 104th Street is formerly called the Alley of Light, and we're quite excited about this piece. Finally, we have 2 installations that have come or are on their way as a result of the arena construction, and of course the one is on the left is by the artist Alex Jambier in the Winter Garden, and the one on the right is by we don't know. Okay, a famous artist. Another exciting thing that's happening is, so we have all of this build up here, all of these projects going on, but our educational institutes are a very important part of that revitalization as well. And for those of you who have read and memorized the Capital City Downtown Plan, you will know that education is referenced in that document as being a very, very important component. We are looking at having as many as 50,000 students in the downtown by 2020. To help us get to that lofty goal, we have an expansion underway at Northwest College, their Sigmar Center for Learning, and just to point out that Mr. Sigmar is the individual who's developing the hotel in the quarters, the Hyatt Place Hotel. And here, this will be a $190 million expansion that's opening in 2017. And for those of you who like to look at hoarding, I've been told that their hoarding is an outstanding example of what hoarding can be and what we aspire hoarding to be in our downtown area. We also have expansion going on at McEwen University. They are building a Center for Arts and Culture, and that's a $150 million project that's underway. We'll have 2,000 students and faculty, as well as providing new performance spaces in our downtown. So what these projects do for us, more jobs, more people, more students, more vibrancy. And back over to Tom.
Along the same kind of theme, there's also new office buildings under construction. The one on the left is the new Edmonton Tower that I mentioned will host many of the Civic City of Edmonton employees. On the right is the Kelly Ramsey building, currently nearing completion. And there's also the Stantec Tower, which I mentioned as part of the ICE district. Edmonton hasn't had 3 downtown office towers under construction at the same time since the early 1980s. And all in all, these add up to about 1.7 million square feet of office space currently under construction today. Again, and one of those critical pieces that we need for the whole downtown to thrive. And maybe even more critical in our view is people making downtown their home. So as this says, since 2009, downtown's population grew by about 1,500. That's actually underselling it a bit. If you go back a little further to 1998, downtown's population has more than doubled. Today we're sitting at just over 13,000 people living in downtown itself. So if you go back further than that, between 1971 and 1996, the population of downtown Edmonton shrank by about 10%. And since then, we've doubled. So helping to that, obviously, are some residential towers that are being built. Within the official borders of downtown itself, there's currently 6 residential buildings under construction, with several more in permitting and sales stages. The ones here are already making an impact on the skyline. The Ultima Tower on the left, nearing completion. Fox Towers on the right, one of which is completed, the other of which is under construction. Add it all up, and within downtown itself, you have more than 1,300 units currently under construction, with more than 1,700 more in various stages of planning or sales. Add the quarters onto that, and you add a few hundred more units. And just some pictures of some other buildings that are being built. The Mayfair North development at Jasper Avenue and 109th Street on the left, and the Symphony Tower at 106th Street and 97th Avenue on the right. But more important than changes to the skyline that all these new developments have, or even more important than our excitement of counting construction cranes, which we like to do out our window, it's that each new project we add has more people living downtown. And that residential development is really the key to a sustainable community and a sense of community and an active community league. And there's a saying that retail follows rooftops, and that's what we are starting to see happen as well. So particularly in terms of restaurants and cafes, examples of a few up there. New Black Pearl restaurant on 104th Street, Joey's opening in the Bell Tower, coffee shops, lots of examples. And then you add on new festivals and events, so things like the Red Bull Crushed Ice that was held downtown in February of 2015, or the Nuit Blanche event from last September, which had thousands of people come downtown in the middle of the night to look at all kinds of experimental artworks. Tour of Alberta, which is finished in downtown Edmonton for the last 2 years. Add all that up, and it starts to become a really compelling picture. So just as we've closed here, we've given you a taster of everything that's happening. If you want to learn more about it, or read the downtown plan if you haven't quite had it memorized yet, we have a new website at edmonton.ca/GoDowntown that has information on all the projects happening. And if you also, while you're there, you could sign up for our downtown newsletter, which will include, which is sent out periodically to your email, which will include project updates, keeping you up to date on what the latest is that's going on downtown, what events are going on, and a particularly popular section is which roads are going to be closed in the next month or two. So yeah, please subscribe if you'd like to stay informed and stay up on the story as it progresses. So we hope that we've given you the impression that what's going on today in downtown Edmonton and the quarters really is unprecedented. So it's not just about the volume of construction, as much as $5 billion is a really big number. It's about how diverse it is, everything that's going on. It's drainage upgrades, it's community centers, it's condos, it's parks, it's office buildings, it's hotels, it's museums, it's universities, colleges, a casino, a community rink, new cultural facilities, streetscaping projects, public art, LRT, bike lanes, plazas and squares, there's heritage restorations, there's new cafes and restaurants, and new festivals and events.
Didn't you forget something?
Right, there's that skating facility for professional hockey players too. Rogers Place. And above all, it's about more people. It's about people living, working, playing, learning downtown, all adding up to more vibrant streets and more vibrant and a sustainable community. And since this is a gathering of planners, without a plan to change the conversation and a plan to build consensus around this new vision of downtown, and without a plan to invest in downtown, I think we can say that a lot of this never would have happened. And just to sum up, we like this quote from the mayor. As Edmonton makes this urban shift and really becomes one of the top tier Canadian cities, a move like this is going to be noticed not just by Edmontonians, but by people across the country. Thank you.